Konnichiwa, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Kyoto by Night, The Second Breath. Here we are catching up with little Fu, who has been very busy throughout the month here, trying to consolidate her hold over some of the mortal pawns that she has picked up, playthings, as well as trying to lay low a little bit. But unfortunately, laying low only works well if nobody's working at cross purposes. And it is this evening that a local news outlet has released a short clip taken from the security cameras at the shootout that Her Wu had been involved in, which shows very clear shots of three individuals' faces. Fortunately, the police have only been able to identify one of them, but just the same, it is a little bit of a high-profile situation, and not coincidentally, Fu has received a request for attendance at the court.
Fu makes no delay in this and will make her way to the northernmost part of Kyoto, to the temple where the Court of Four Winds resides, and waits to be received outside the gates of the temple itself.
Okay. The gates have the usual individuals that you can see there, but one of Ogawa's servants actually comes to let you know that her master and the others are ready for you.
Fu will look at the bakemono with a raised brow. I see you've come up in the world.
Yes, I've been given some responsibilities that is been very good for me.
Well, hopefully you're living up to expectation. Someone so close to the court would probably not do well to make very many slip-ups.
That is what I hear. I've helped reprimand the last individual that Master had at his side here. I am well aware of what my fate could be.
Out of curiosity, who is that individual that you helped reprimand?
Kolosi. Kolosi was Master's former servant for the court, and he displeased Master. I've been allowed to take his place. I think that partly because there are some who might be here who my master thinks would not like to see me. I'm hoping he's wrong, though.
I think that's going to depend entirely on you.
She smiles a very uncomfortably large smile, and, well, I try. He'll come around. Anyhow, Master will not be pleased with either of us if we delay.
This is true. And Fu will follow Masane.
Okay. So she heads in, and she doesn't actually enter the court area with you. She just stands at the doorway and stands to the side to allow you to walk past her.
Fu will slip off her shoes and make her way into the receiving room, place herself down onto 2 knees at the tea table, and simply wait.
Okay. The 3 of them are actually already in the receiving room. They were waiting. They were talking amongst themselves. Ogawa and Kisaragi were whispering. Gakusha is just sitting placid as he usually is. And once you sit down, their conversation kind of ends. And the Boneflower Mandarin stands up. Welcome.
Fu will bow.
Fuyuko Ichimonji, are you aware of the potential conflicts that are circling around you like buzzards?
Painfully aware.
Very well. We have requested your presence to ensure that as a Jina on the rise within the prefect, that you are sufficiently capable of handling these complications without undue problems occurring elsewhere throughout the prefect. And Gakusha will sit back down.
Fu will... is there tea set out?
Yes, there is.
Fu will pick up the cup of tea and place it in her hand and spin it around I believe it's 3 times, before taking a sip from it. And then take a long, unneeded inhale before letting that breath out. As my Mandarin knows, I have methods which I prefer, which are much more direct. However, clearly, this situation that has arisen many months after the fact will probably need a degree of subtlety to be dealt with.
Kisaragi will be the one that will speak up at this time. You are correct, Fu, that this gap in time would indicate that caution would be prudent. I understand that action and reaction is your role in the Great Wheel. However, you need to have a target. And I'm not sure if you fully know where to aim your focus at this time.
Building a foundation was where I wished to, or where I had set my sights. But it seems that that foundation will have to wait. This situation proves to be a problem for all of us. If someone were to dig beyond the mortal aspects of that videotape.
Have you viewed the footage that was released to the public?
Out of character, it was what's available on the TV, correct?
Yeah.
I have.
What insights do you have about your enemy based on that?
Well, I would say that this mortal concern, the Aka family, are a bit more cautious than I gave them credit for. I assume they would be like most of the Oniwabans that I've encountered in this life and the previous. Brash, quick to action. They're calculated.
Had you received any indication previous to this video being released that they were on to you?
Not to this extent, no.
So why do you think that they are choosing to involve the media and the police? For unbeknownst to many, the same footage was delivered to the police. And she glances at the other two, was intercepted before it was going to cause extra complications. Unfortunately, we were not able to intercept with the media before it became complicated.
If this were a play on the Aka family's behalf, I would say that this is confusing tactics at best. Ousting oneself, ousting an opium den of all things. Criminal affiliation, something that could put those involved that were, in a sense, victimized, and place them in just as much of the crosshairs of the police as anyone else caught on that video. More so them, as they brought firearms to the fight.
True, though the footage only shows you three carrying the firearms as you walk away. But you are correct. The investigation hadn't led anywhere. This refocused his attention. That doesn't sound like a sound tactic for a group that, from my understanding, is wanting to grow as a criminal organization.
This would be very much akin to throwing salt around the roots of their own tree. Which would lead me to believe that the reason that this footage got to the media was that it was a deliberate attempt to oust either the Aka family or myself.
Or both.
Perhaps.
So that is why we wanted to make sure that your response to this was not going to be without focus, without knowing who is responsible for this footage to come to light. Lashing out at assumptions can cause more problems than it will solve.
Mm-hmm. You're worried that the tiger will come out of its cave swiping blindly and viciously.
The police department has their Okisama celebration on Thursday, and they have invited the reporters who got this tip to their celebration as a way to perhaps determine who might be pulling strings or how the strings were pulled. The explanation they've received so far has been fairly vague on where the footage came from. Perhaps it was delivered the same way that it was delivered to the police. But in that case, why was that news outlet chosen?
You're the most vigilant Huijin in the prefecture. Kisaragi Dono. Do you know anything that would be useful? Something that I know would not come without cost.
I have been made aware that there is a Gaki in the city that has not presented themselves to the court. Originally reported as a Chime by Tomoyoshi, Musashi-san was informed by Tomo's colleague Pink Fox that they had discovered that it was not a Chime, but an actual sentient Gaki. I have not met this Gaki yet, so I do not know if this individual is new and that's why it was assumed to be Chime, or is this individual, and she'll pause, choosing her words correctly.
I am going to perception empathy that, because I have an idea out of character where this is going or what she's thinking. Two successes.
Okay. So 2 successes I see there.
Mm-hmm.
She's choosing her words correctly to ensure she's following proper etiquette and not making false accusations to influence your opinion.
Would that be specifically due to what Fu is?
Perhaps, actually, because between your dharma and your direction, some words you might latch onto and run with very strongly.
Okay.
So what she does say after her pause, perhaps is a more experienced individual, which, having not presenting themselves to the court, could be responsible for events that are inauspicious or contrary to proper etiquette.
What led the court to believe that this individual was Chime?
Tomoyoshi had reported it as a Chime due to the fact that it was cannibalizing victims. We had numerous missing persons in a localized area with suspicions of their disappearances meaning murder, but there was no bodies found. Tomo says he found evidence that this being was actually eating its victims, not just feeding on them. But then later, Musashi was told by one of Yoshi's associates that the individual was not a Chime. But that individual has not presented themselves to the court. And I suspect that individual may have been responsible for the break-in at the museum. So my question would be, who is this individual that is consuming its victims and avoiding court attendance?
As a out of character, as a member of the Devil Tigers, I don't want to get this wrong. Out of character, so would it be safe to say that there are at least enough lines to be drawn that there is a possibility of this being an Akuma?
I think it would be safe for Fu to, with that empathy role and the wording of the Sosen, that could be what the Sosen's trying not to say because she doesn't have concrete proof of it.
Fu will sit a little bit more rigidly and sneer slightly, but hold on to her composure. Did Tomoyoshi witness the flesh eating firsthand? Or is this something that small-minded bone flower came upon using his limited brain function?
Ogawa will speak up. He actually came across it and heard about it from his Po, as he was unfortunately in Shadow Soul at the time. So his observation skills were not very keen. My assistant and I have spent some time trying to assist Yoshi-san in being able to control his Po a little bit better. We'll see if that is the case or not.
So we're going on intel brought to us by one of our fellows, Po.
Yes, and then the second bit of intel on this individual came third hand through a young thrashing dragon who passed it on to his Mandarin, who happened to take 30 seconds to mention it to us. And he kind of looks at the other two, since he doesn't seem to share a lot of info.
She'll look directly at her Mandarin. I'm sure you're keenly aware of the lines that someone in my position would draw regarding this Musashi individual.
Musashi's the thrashing dragon Mandarin.
Which one? I'm sorry. Which one's the?
There was no name. The Chime.
Okay, so we're still referring to it by Chime. Okay.
Unknown Gaki.
Unknown. Okay, so she looks to her Mandarin and simply says the same thing, but with the Gaki instead of Musashi.
Yeah. I have very strong suspicions as well. without anything firm, there's nothing at this point other than speculation. However, one way or the other, there's a very serious threat that this individual could be influencing or drawing some of the less enlightened Gaki in the city to him. If Tomo really has found what he thought was a Chime and not reported it, and we're hearing about it from one of his associates who kind of downplayed the importance of it, there seems to be something at work here that is not good and needs to be found out.
Let's say that our worst fears are justified. This would take precedence over many things as far as we're concerned.
Gakusha will step forwards again. Ensure that any accusations can be supported. It is better to err on the side of caution, declare righteous Twilight War on who you think may be wronging you, than to be sweeping up ashes and then having to prove afterwards that you were justified.
And if this individual is in service to the Yama Kings and leading young Cathayans astray, inaction may be exactly what they're hoping for.
Oga will step up. Then ensure you are right, sister. And if you are, enlightenment will come to you. If you are wrong, you will risk a lot. So just make sure you're right.
Well, as it stands, we have two very different directions to go in. One of which being dealing with this individual of very poor etiquette, or dealing with this breach in our veil of secrecy.
And they could be linked, they could be separate.
The latter, the more mundane situation we're dealing with, poses troublesome outcomes for me and mine, but is not wholly debilitating. So I will ask the Sosen directly if she would prefer that this is dealt with at once, or if she feels that the threat of a potential Akuma is a far greater mystery to be solved. As a Jina, I am a servant of the court now.
That you are. Your personal affairs are your personal affairs. And how or when you choose to deal with those issues, that is up to you. Court the needs of the court, the fivefold way binds us together, and any threat to the court needs to be dealt with accordingly. So this potential breach of secrets from our perspective is a personal issue of yours. We have done what we feel we've needed to do to maintain control of it from a court perspective. And what is left is currently still within your control. How you handle that is up to you. But if you become aware of or have evidence of there being somebody who is totally inauspicious and perhaps has earned the title of Akuma, then that would take precedent over anything else.
Personal matters for a running monkey are pressing. For Jina, heading forth in her path, I can't think of anything more pressing than dealing with a potential servant to the Yama Kings, especially as a devil tiger.
Then I would suggest you do proper diligence. Find out why the running monkeys of the city do not feel that this individual is a threat.
Very well. I'll start with our bone flower, and I would ask that his Mandarin assist me in this. Humbly, of course.
Of a certainty, the proper knowledge can be acquired when the right questions are asked, and sometimes when no questions are asked.
It takes a long time to consider her next choice of words, considering it's a Mandarin in front of her. How is Yoshi doing in his progress within his Dharma?
Where you have found your proper footing in the wheel, Yoshi is still trying to find his. The most difficult thing for a bone flower is to discover the black metal egg, the cold mind. There are still a lot of distractions as a running monkey from his mortal life, that cold mind eludes him still.
Do you feel that his lack of enlightenment could be influencing his opinion of this undeclared Gaki.
Children are more easily swayed than adults. It is the child that looks for Santa on Christmas Day. The teenager does not, and the parents eat the cookies.
I see. And then what of the other youths of our court?
The three of them kind of look at each other a little bit. Ogawa will be the first to speak up. Well, from my understanding, while Yoshi has reached out to each of us, Musashi seems to be the only one who has encountered most of the other youths. The running monkeys seem to find it easier to connect with him. I hear that there are quite a few thrashing dragons new to the city, which no doubt gives him a bit of an edge in communicating with them. Though we have extended the invitation for the celebrations this week and are hoping that those who perhaps have not introduced themselves to the court yet can take the opportunity to do so for Omisoka.
I've only encountered 2 thrashing dragons. One, and Anthony's character's name I cannot remember to save the life of me.
Give me 2 seconds and I'll double check so I don't screw it up either. Ryosuke Koma.
Ryosuke, I have some knowledge of and some dealings with. Has he been involved with this Gaki? To your knowledge?
They'll look at each other, and that is perhaps something that you should ask Akoma. We, the only ones that we are aware of that have interacted with this unknown Gaki are Yoshi and Pink Fox. Though Akira might have encountered him as well, since Akira seems to be associating with Yoshi and Fox.
And I suppose perhaps Pink Fox will be on my list of individuals who I should visit.
Yeah, she was the one that informed Musashi of the benign nature of the Gaki we had thought was Chime.
She doesn't even try to hold the scoff in. I don't suppose that you would have any idea of where Musashi might be at this moment? Or where I can find him a bit more easily than when he is deciding to play hide-and-go-seek?
He is at the Bamboo Grove currently. To our knowledge, he is not within the city.
Well, I'll start with Musashi and get his opinions on his students and see if perhaps they are being led astray.
It is probably wise to get his input first, Sulson will say. it is important that we do not take rash accusations. I've seen unfortunate situations in the past where the only proof of somebody being labeled a Kuma was the fact that they were no longer there to defend themselves. It is better to strike at the actual Akuma and not accidentally thin our ranks now at the verge of the 6th age, if we can help it.
I tend to agree.
Excellent.
I suppose that dealing with this issue of finding out whether or not this Gaki is Akuma or just one of very poor etiquette would be worth something in the court's eyes.
The three of them kind of look at each other, but Kisaragi is nodding. Most certainly. As a Jina and taking these steps to protect the court and to protect the running monkeys who are not yet at your level of enlightenment is very much key to your future with this court.
When the situation is dealt with, I would like to sit amongst peers with this court.
There's a few eyebrows raised. Ogawa just gets a big grin on his face and kind of looks over his shoulder to see Kisaragi's reaction.
Oh, Fu is watching Kisaragi as well. That is the first time I think Fu has ever had a chance to fire a shot across that bow, in a proverbial sense.
Upon your success, little Fu, the court would welcome an opportunity should you be able to find a position for yourself.
Fu simply smiles at that. Looks at Ogawa with a just with a devilish grin.
He's grinning right back.
Well then, I will tend to some personal affairs to make sure that things don't spiral further out of control, and then visit Musashi.
Very well. Thank you, Fuyoko Ichimonji. It has been a good conversation.
And Fu will bow graciously to the point where her forehead touches the floor. Thank you for being gracious hosts. And she will wait, step up, step out, and place her shoes on before walking past the Bakebono and out into the street. Oh, I have an urge to hit something very, very hard. And so I will give the, oh God, I had it written down somewhere and I cannot find it. The one of the biker girls that I brought over into the fold.
Okay.
And give her a call, asking questions about this the leader of her former gang.
Hello?
It's me.
Oh, Fusan. What do you need of me?
I need to know about the meeting that your former boss wanted to have with you.
He asked for you and Kagome and said neutral location for a meeting. He said that he would meet at a time of your convenience, but wanted to meet with the two of you privately. I don't know who he is. He's dealt with higher ups above my pay grade.
Give him this. And Fu will contemplate what she's going to say next.
No, you do not.
Fu will contemplate what she's going to say next, how she's going to deal with the situation. As, well, to put it bluntly, a misstep here could cause a great deal more violence, a great deal more headache, and considering the responsibility she just took on, that would be taking a step backwards. So Fu thinks about it, and thinks about it, and thinks about it some more.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right. Yeah. So she's like dealing with him. It's above my pay grade, so I don't really know him either. Just know about, I don't know, 6 months ago, he started financing the big boss. So
Didn't you say that one of the people you worked for was one of us?
yeah,
Same individual?
she's kind of, there's a bit of a pause on the phone there. Yeah, I have met him, but why did I think I hadn't? I wasn't trying to lie. I wasn't lying. I wasn't trying to lie. I'm sorry.
For what it's worth, I believe you. Do you know how to get in contact with him?
Not him. I've got the number that I was given for you. I don't know if it calls him directly, but to set up the meeting time and place.
You haven't given me this number yet?
I, I, I'll give it. I can text it to you right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's I wasn't trying to. She's fumbling along, and you can hear her tapping away at the phone.
Can you do me a favor tonight?
Yeah.
Give Suzu a bath tonight.
Okay.
That's all. And she'll hang up the phone.
Okay.
Shakes her head. You work for a goddamn tiger, you give a goddamn tiger goddamn number right goddamn way. And she'll take out or go to a local electronics store and buy a prepaid cell phone.
Okay.
And take that cell phone out, power it up, and then give the number a call.
Yeah.
Who am I speaking with?
Who am I speaking with?
I'm looking for somebody who wanted to set up a meeting in a neutral place.
Oh. Yeah, he said somewhere neutral, like parkade or parking lot, or open area, some like really early in the morning, so there wouldn't be a lot of people.
So you're a middleman.
Yeah, I'm supposed to take a message.
Tell me, middleman, is there any chance that your employer is sitting there with you at the moment?
No, he's a busy guy.
Aren't we all? I'll tell you what. I'm sending you an address. It's a tea shop. It's in about as neutral as a place that you can get for someone like me.
Okay. And when did you want to meet?
About an hour before sunrise.
Tonight?
Yes.
All right, I'll see if he can fit that in.
Good. And she'll send an address of a tea shop that's within a stone's throw of the actual court itself.
Ooh.
If this guy's a Gaki, he is not going to misbehave that close to the court. And if he's human, well, they can go for a walk.
Okay. So what do you do in preparation for this meeting?
Well, let's see. I'm not going to dare bring a firearm anywhere near the court out of respect. Aside from the knife, after Suzu's had her bath, probably bring her along. I know I haven't had a chance to stat her out, so whatever you feel is appropriate for the scene, and then we'll get on to actually getting that sheet done. Because I have been an absolutely awful bookkeeper.
Yeah. No problem. We can deal with that. So you've got Suzu with you, and your new acquaintance who has disappointed you has a newfound respect for the pecking order here. And yeah, she's nice and clean, ready to go with you.
When Susan arrives, Fu will lovingly stroke her head.
The heck? Trying to switch overlays here. Oh, I think my whole computer froze.
No, you're not frozen.
Oh, okay. My screen froze here on this end. Anyway, is there something special we get to do tonight?
Maybe. It all depends on how things go. I need you to be on your absolute best behavior.
Oh, I will. I will be on my best behavior.
Remember, unless mommy says for you to do anything brash, you just sit there like the good girl I know you can be.
Okay. Sit still. Going to be hard, but I think there's some memories here of having to sit still before. I will try to shuffle through those for inspiration.
In the meantime, you can have tea and sweets as much as your heart desires.
Ooh. I can definitely accept that.
And Fu will sit Suzu a good number of tables away, giving her an iPad to occupy herself with to help her maintain that level of goodness.
All right. Yeah, so you guys are sitting there, and it's hardly anybody here at all this late at night. People that work 13-hour days, get off work at 2 in the morning, those are the kind of people that are here, and there's not too many of them. But about an hour before sunrise, a unkempt little guy comes in wearing a suit with I guess it's like a polo shirt underneath. He's just kind of looking around the room. He's one of those douchebags that wears sunglasses wherever he goes, no matter how bright it is. So,
Oh God, I've been waiting to meet this guy.
looks around and starts ambling towards you.
Fu is sitting there with just a cup of tea and an empty plate of food, little snacks.
Where's your girlfriend tonight? Thought I was meeting up with both of you.
For obvious reasons, she's staying at home. I thought the adults should have a chance to get to know each other before we bring children into the mix.
Yeah, I guess. Might want to wait a week or so before showing her face around. Let people forget what she looks like.
So I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you.
I have not met you either, but I have heard many stories of you, little Fu.
Now you know my name, and I don't know yours. I suppose we should fix that. Over a cup of piping hot tea?
Sure. I suppose I could drink tea.
Little reminders of certain delights we have to not be quite as close to anymore.
If something delights you, go ahead and do it. I don't see why not.
Words to live by, depending on what path you follow. Very deliberate, by the way, saying what path you follow.
Yes, I suppose. The nerds always seem to have a stick up their ass, so you never really know what they get pleasure out of. I guess thinking games, math games.
Never really been my strong suit.
And then you've got the whores always chasing after new dick, old dick, different dick. That seems to be the thing that gives them pleasure and excitement. They're pretty predictable as well. It's those of us that are more in tune with the darkness inside that tend to really truly understand what motivates people, isn't it?
I'm gonna P and E the crap out of that. Perception and empathy. I'm gonna spend a willpower point on that one.
Okay. My screen's still frozen, so I'm gonna have to take your word for what your result is, but at least it's getting recorded, so I know I can watch it later if I really doubt it.
A 7, 1, and 2 8s, so that would be 3 successes.
Okay. You said a 1? Doesn't that cancel 1?
Yeah, but I spent a willpower point.
Oh, yes, that's right. Never mind. He's being very nonchalant and flippant. He is he's appearing to be open, but you get the impression he's the kind of guy that never fully reveals everything.
Who's already getting a migraine? She'll wait for her tea before responding. And what about those that are so confoundedly stuck to rules and regulations that they just make you want to cry?
Oh, I hear you there, sister. I mean, you might be easier to negotiate with than I thought. If that's your mindset.
Well, certainly not one of those that sticks to the rules so stringently that it's like concrete boots. I guess I wouldn't call myself someone who walks so many paths they get lost up in it, but seem to take some sort of joy out of that.
He'll just kind of nod a little bit. See, now you're starting to sound more like them nerds.
So why don't we
let's just cut through the bullshit. So you're muscling in on my turf. You're trying to get a foothold where I've already forged one. So what say you just get out of my way and things will go smoother?
Well, there's one little complication in all of that. See, this particular gang of ladies, they've offended someone in my family. And as such, I want to see them burn. I want to see them squirm. I want them to beg and lick at my boots for just a chance of seeing the next sunrise.
Oh, but that is such a waste of resources.
Did I say I wanted them dead?
No, but you're wasting your time. You're wasting recuperation time on their end. And you see, by trying to take what's already mine, you're wasting your resources and my resources in this petty little squabble back and forth.
So let's make a deal.
All right. Now we're talking.
If we're going to get direct about things, first off, I think that there's a good chance that you're the individual that one of my converts referred to as a bit like me. A night owl. Night owl with certain gifts that most other night owls don't have.
Yes, and I also have some dietary restrictions as well.
So then that cat's out of the bag, though it was already peeking its head out. So then, obviously, I didn't know they were yours until we were already directly involved. And at that point, to back off would have shown a fair bit of weakness. Something you wouldn't abide on your end, and something I won't abide on my end.
Yeah, definitely not.
So we find ourselves at a crossroads, but not necessarily cross purposes.
I'm listening.
It's one thing for us to get into a long, drawn-out shadow war. It's another thing for me to try and muscle in and test my mettle against yours and see where that winds us up. In the end, we both end up losers.
That is true.
So, what I'm proposing is you could probably use another hand in all this. Rather than having two separate territories, conjoined territories might not be a bad idea. You need someone that will strike fear into those that follow you if they ever misbehave. And that's something that I specifically specialize in.
I see. And what is the benefit? Because what you're proposing sounds an awful lot like I just let you run the show. So what's in it for me?
Your territory is your territory, for the most part. We get to operate in it, respecting whatever rules you like followed. If someone tries to infringe on it, we come running to your aid and vice versa. I already have a substantial following. I'm sure you do too.
Hmm. And then what becomes of my tools that you want tormented?
Your girls?
Yeah.
Just a reminder that when they poke a tiger and try and grab its tail, that there are consequences. Permanent damage would be minimized. The emotional scars are what I'm after. Lessons that last a lifetime.
Hmm.
It's a pretty good deal for you. I don't think they'll ever give you a cross look ever again once they know that we're working together. They'll never question an order. They'll be eager almost like birds eating out of your hand when offered a bit of breadcrumbs. Just so that way they don't ever have to deal with Aunt Fu ever again.
Hmm. Well, that sounds, on the surface, to be fairly manageable. There's always a catch, though. See, what you're proposing, if you choose to take advantage of the situation and eliminate me, there's no repercussions.
If I were to eliminate you, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're already at least a known member of the court, right?
Um, Not really one for attending church.
No. But you're part of the congregation, at least somewhat.
No, I can't really say I've ever been to the temple.
Let me ask you, if our dear priest called her flock together, you'd be there, right?
Mm, I'd hear about it. I got people that would fill me in.
And if she asked for you specifically?
I would be quite surprised.
That much of an outsider.
Yeah, I got other shit to deal with.
Now, see, and she sort of leans back and takes the cup up with one hand and sips out of it. Now you've become even more interesting.
Well, I said I was going to cut through the bullshit. I mean, I can sit here and say all the right answers, but what would be the point of that? Because all that's going to do then is then you're going to continue on and double check, and then if you find out that it's incorrect, then you're going to doubt everything else that I've been saying. And that's just going to lead to more problems in our negotiations.
So it sounds like to me then you just don't want a headache on your hands.
I would prefer to avoid it, yes.
All right. Obviously, what we're proposing is very advantageous for me. Only marginally so for you. You have backup if you need it. On the same end, though, I am sure that there are others out there that you don't like. That if they were to cause you problems, you'd like to be able to jump down their throats with the proper weaponry in hand, right?
I try to deal with situations with as little fuss as possible, but, sometimes a bitch gotta learn.
So, your enemies become my enemies.
Intriguing.
And as an up and comer at church, wouldn't hurt to have somebody who has some sway with the staff there to be able to put a good word in for you from time to time.
I suppose there is merit there. And having you as an ally would be a lot less of a hassle than having you as an enemy.
How many tigers do you currently have that call you friend?
Well, there are some that have some respect, and there are some that outright dislike me. I don't think there's too many tigers that truly are friends. It's not really in the nature of the beast, is it?
Oh, you just don't know us all that well.
Or too well?
She's got the the black and white striped sash she wears around her waist. She's sort of flipping it with her other hand, kind of the way that a feline might when they're intrigued. Out of character, has he stated enough to say that he's a devil tiger as well?
He did refer at the beginning to those of us with more in tune with the dark nature. So he has indicated that he would be more aligned with the Poe.
Interesting, intriguing. Well, allies we could be.
All right, I will accept this truce. We will see how it plays out. If it works the way that you say it will, then we both benefit.
This is what I'll do, just to make sure that everybody feels that they're being properly respected. You don't have to deliver those girls to me until you feel that I've earned it.
All right. That sounds like a fair way to start this barter. He'll hold out his hand. I am Katsuro.
Ichimonji. She takes his hand and shakes it.
We will work on this tenuous truce then, and see how this plays out for our mutual benefits.
Seems like a good idea. The territory that's near yours, that backs right up against it. Any of our fellow congregation members currently holding it?
Not that I've encountered so far.
Then, me and mine will set up shop there. And we'll make sure that it is an advantageous place for you and I both.
All right. That is acceptable. Now the next question is, how much do we want this alliance televised? Or do we want to put our potential enemies' guards down by carrying on like we are not?
Liking how you think more and more and more. And she'll sit back and flip the sash a bit more. Currently, I'm sure you're aware of the recent news article.
He smiles. Yes, I do recall seeing something. You're not very photogenic with the camera equipment they used.
Well, a play I didn't expect. An opium den putting its security footage out there on the news in the hands of police. Not something that you would specifically do if you wanted to stay in business.
They must be truly desperate to try to flush you out.
Truly desperate or being manipulated. And there's a whole number of individuals that could be. Maybe I've angered some of the other members of the church who don't have the sand to stand up and say that they have a grievance. Of course, generally speaking, you don't stand up in front of a tiger and say, "You killed my goat." So, there's also the matter of the errant attack dog. And she'll make emphasis on it enough so he can understand what she's saying without having to put it out there.
Okay, do you want to make a manipulation subterfuge to see if you can...
Certainly. Do, 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 do. Really? Really? That's disturbing. No, I'm buying downtime.
Oh.
With social difficulty reductions, smooth and enchanting voice come into play here?
I'd say smooth would.
Alright, so that's a -2, so then it would be 3 successes.
Okay.
She's specifically referring to the Che-Mei.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm aware of what it is that you're referring to.
Apparently, there was a wild dog that needed to be wrangled in and either tamed or put down. But said wild dog is not so wild and is choosing to eat the forbidden fruit, as it were, as wild dogs tend to do, out of sheer desire, sheer conscience desire. And a lot of our little monkeys seem to think that that's not such a bad thing. Specifically, Tommy and Pink Fox.
Those friends of yours?
No.
Oh.
Well, the fox is an acquaintance. I wouldn't call it a friend or an enemy. Tomiyoshi is a black-petaled flower and is certainly lacking in a brain pan.
I see.
So, the situation is a bit more complicated when it comes to this wild dog, because it may not be as wild as we once thought. It proves problematic for our specific path.
Well, do you know what this wild dog looks like? Like, I might keep my eyes or keep my people's eyes and ears open for it.
I haven't had as much as a description, though I am going to talk with the stupid one.
Very well. I will see what I can find out then. Keep my ears open for you.
If it was the wild dog indeed, well, that's all one nice little cluster that I can deal with in one blow. If not, well, the plot thickens, and I'll have to leave it be because I'm more worried about this dog than anything else at the moment.
Okay. Well, if I see a wild dog anywhere, I'll let you know.
Fair enough.
All right. So we are going to have a trial alliance. We're going to keep it amongst ourselves. So we will have our minions still in the dark. Allow them to still exhibit some venting frustrations amongst each other. We'll keep them sharp.
I'll have Kagome pay the girls a visit, let her get roughed up in the process if it comes down to it, for appearance's sake.
There you go. I think that would be best. And then that way you and I know what's going on. Everything else will continue running its course. We'll see if this alliance will actually work to our benefit. We'll just stop working against each other. And I'll keep my eyes open for this wild dog of yours.
That would be much appreciated. And she'll hold up the prepaid phone. Private line for you and I.
All right. You already have my number. That'll go directly to me this time or next time that you call. So
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad we got to have ourselves a nice little conversation. And I'm glad it didn't come to unpleasantries.
yeah, it's usually not worth the effort.
Sometimes the effort can be fun.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Well, I suppose I should probably be getting back. Besides, sunrise is fast approaching, and as much as I enjoy taking time out in the sun, I'm going to forego the pleasure this morning.
Yeah, and my time spent tanning is minimal, so I also will need to head back. So I will be in touch, Ichimonji.
I will as well.
With that, Katsuro will get up and we'll head out of the tea place.
And once she's sure he's gone, she'll wave Suzu over. Time to head home, honey bunny.
Well, that wasn't very exciting at all.
Well, generally speaking, sometimes life can't be all that exciting. But that is what makes the exciting times even better.
I suppose.
I'll tell you what, when we get far enough away from Grandma... Oh my god, I just had the worst brain fart ever. The Sosin's last name. I created that goddamn character.
Kisaragi?
Kisaragi. Goddamn. Once we get away from Grandma Kisaragi's backyard, we'll find someone for you to play with.
Good. Well, the play thing earlier this evening was fun too. So, but
What did you do to her, just out of curiosity?
Oh, she was very friendly and very approachable, and probably missing some fingers now. Maybe.
Was she a dirty girl, Suzu?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she kind of was. But I mean, with this smile, who can resist?
She just pat Suzu on the head. I tend to stay away from such temptations.
Well, I'm sure Mistress would not be susceptible in the same way that your toys are.
Mistress has different tastes. Not to say, though, that if Mistress was so inclined, she would be all over you like white on rice.
Yes, at least you can regrow fingers.
Among other things. Well, let's go find you a plaything.
Okay.
And off the two will trot.
Off the two will trot. And reaching sunrise, I believe that will be seen. So Fu has gotten a few plays put into position, a tenuous truce with a mysterious stranger, and is pushing for some official recognition in the court. So if she can identify the stray dog, we might see Fu stepping up her game. So thank you for watching, viewers, and sayonara.